بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Oh Allah, expand my breast, make my task easy, loosen the knot in my tongue that they may understand. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسوله ويوم الآخر وقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى والبعث بعد الموت. The basic beliefs of Islam are that we believe in God. We say Allah. The AL there's a definite article. Allah meaning of. Illah means God. You put them together, Allah. We believe in Allah. We believe in the angels of Allah. We believe in the books of Allah. We believe in the messengers of Allah. We believe in the day of judgment, the day of accountability. We believe in predestination or supremacy of divine will. We believe in life after death. These beliefs have been stated in what we call the precisely and what is in the Iman al-Mufassal, faith in detail. Alhamdulillah, the Rabbil Alameen, meaning, yes, again, I believe in Allah, I believe in His angels, I believe in His books, I believe in His messengers, and I believe in the fact that anything good or bad is decided by Allah the Almighty and in life after death. The basic duties of Islam. Islam has five basic duties in which Muslims must perform. They are known as the 5 pillars or the 5 principles of Islam. The Arabic term is Arkanul Islam. These pillars are mentioned in the following hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. بني الإسلام على 5 شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وحج البيت وصوم رمضان. Yes, Islam is based on 5 things, 5 principles. The declaring that there is nothing worthy of worship but God. Nothing. Not your job, not your mom, not your career. You know, nothing deserves to be worshiped but God, Allah. And that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. To establish, the basic duty is to establish prayer, salah, to pay the zakat, the hajj, and sound in the month of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So we're going to be talking a little bit basically about Ramadan. The virtues is what is on the poster, the flyer. So they're giving me 15 minutes. And I pray to Allah to help me do just 15 minutes. So here we go. Let us all be excited about the fact that the virtues of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a month that brings everything together and chose this month to be the greatest of all months. The best of all months is the month of Ramadan. It is the month of fasting, the month of Quran, the month of increased rewards. The one who does Umrah in Ramadan equals Hajj. Equals Hajj, not is Hajj. Okay? The one who worships Allah in Ramadan and fasts in Ramadan, the rewards are greater than when he or she doesn't fast outside of Ramadan. It is a month of itikaf, spiritual retreat. It is the month of sadaqah fitra. Some of us call it zakat fitra, an obligatory charity. Unique acts of worship that you don't find anywhere else during the course of a year specific to Ramadan. It is the month of Laylatul Qadr, the night of the creed. Subhanallah, glory be to Allah, a night in which if we worship Allah, will reward us. Rewards greater than 1,000 months. You put that in years, we're talking about, and I'm not yet that age, but we do have someone who has exceeded that age, 83.3 years. Alhamdulillah. So if we have much to be grateful for. We have much to prepare for. Because this month, because this is a journey of a lifetime. How do we prepare ourselves? We hear people talking about, we're going to prepare for Ramadan, we're going to prepare. Anyway, yes, preparation is definitely necessary. How do we prepare ourselves for Ramadan? What is your to-do list? You know how every time the New Year's come around, people say, I got a New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. So every time Ramadan comes about, we make our plans about, making our to-do list. Mm-hmm. When are you going to stop? And what are you going to fix? Life is about preparation. And we've been given rise to life is about preparation and an ayat in Surah Al-Hashr, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, A'udhu min ash-shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha وتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Oh, you who believe, we talk about preparation. Oh, you who believe, fear Allah and let every soul look to what provision it has set forth for the morrow. Yea, fear Allah, for Allah is well acquainted with all that you do. Taqullah. Fear Allah is akin here to love. The fear of offending or making offense to Allah, Him, or do anything wrong that will deprive us of Allah's good pleasure. Ramadan's coming up. We don't want to do anything that will deprive us of Allah's good pleasure. Taqwa, it implies self-restraint, guarding ourselves from all sin, wrong, injustice, and the positive doing of good. Taqwa, the doing of things which become a preparation. It becomes a preparation and a provision for the hereafter, the next life. Taqwa, let our souls fear to do wrong throughout this coming month. And let our souls do every act of righteousness, which we're going to talk about, and the best to the best of our ability. Allah observes, Allah sees, and He is acquainted with our inner motives and actions. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The next ayat gives us just a little warning as we may proceed forward, because a lot of us, We forget sometimes. ولا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم أولئك هم الفاسقون. And be not like those who forgot Allah, and He made them forget their own souls. Such are the rebellious transgressors. This month of Ramadan is coming up, and there's so much there for us that Allah has in store for us. He's been waiting for us. Our souls have been saying, I'm getting closer, man. I'm getting closer to you, not looking at that TV, man. Alhamdulillah. To forget Allah is to forget the only eternal reality, as we are only reflected realities. How can we understand or do justice to or remember ourselves when we forget the very source of our being? Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed to you as it was prescribed to those before you, that you may learn self-restraint. Self-restraint. The ability to control one's emotions, behavior, and desires. It is the act of refraining oneself from indulging in actions or behavior that might be harmful or disruptive or even destructive. Tattaqun. Become righteous. The Muslim fast is not like other fasts previously observed or prescribed. The Muslim fast is not meant for self-torture, although it is stricter than any other fast. The instincts for food, the instincts for drink, the instincts for sex are strong in the animal nature. Temporary restraint enables our attention to be directed to higher things. And that opportunity, that time is approaching us in a couple of days. Prayer, contemplation, acts of charity, seeking out those in need. I'd like to repeat that. Seeking out those in need. Certain standards are prescribed, but much higher standards are recommended. Ramadan is the month in which was sent down the Quran as a guide to mankind. Also, clear signs for guidance and judgment between right and wrong. So every one of you who is present at his home during that time, during that month, should spend it in fasting. But if anyone is ill, we're going to have to be honest with ourselves. We're truly going to have to be honest with ourselves. But if anyone is ill or on a journey, the prescribed period should be made up by days later. It is Allah, the Creator, the Merciful, who intends every success for us. He does not want to put difficulties with us. He wants you and me, He wants us to complete the prescribed period and to glorify Him in that He has guided us And perchance, we all will be grateful. Whoever works righteousness, man or woman, and has faith, surely to him or her, we will give a new life. A life that is good and pure. And we will bestow on such their reward according to the best of their actions. My believing brothers and sisters, and all of those who are here, who are spending this time of being charitable to our neighbors here. Faith, if sincere, means good conduct. When these two conform with each other, faith and sincerity, it is Allah, it is God who transforms our life, our lives. We enjoy calm and attain cleanliness, clarity of mind, and purity. The transformation is witnessed in our present life, this life itself. The reward in terms of the hereafter will be far beyond our present senses. This ayat of Quran, this verse of scripture, Quranic scripture, points out that men and women are of the same moral and spiritual stature. They share the same moral responsibility, the same capability for independent moral choice, and the same accountability for their deeds. This is the month I'm closing, because I know I'm on my 15 minutes. So I'll just close with a prayer. But I'll preface this prayer by giving us a story of a story of Suleiman, who was gifted with the power to hear nature, to talk to nature. So much so, him and his cavalry was trotting down a road, and an ant heard him coming. And the ant commenced to warn his community, get you into your habitat, for Suleiman and his horsemen are coming. And Suleiman, he smiled. Why did he smile? He smiled because he recognized the gift that the Creator had given him. And that smile was a smile of gratitude. Alhamdulillah. So he went on to make a prayer. But I'm going to close this segment of this part of the program with, I'm going to personalize the prayer for us, inshallah. But upon closing, I'd like to challenge everybody with something during this month of Ramadan. And you can start today to prepare yourself for Ramadan with these 3 directives I'll give you. But let me give this prayer for us as we want to go into these 3 suggestions of guidance, of reflection that may be of benefit for you, that you may carry on into the month of Ramadan. Oh Allah, like Suleiman, alayhi salam, we pray that the power, wisdom, and other gifts you have blessed us with may be used for righteousness and for the greater benefit of all around us. Oh Allah, we pray that we may always take your will as our standard, rather than the standard of men. Oh Allah, guide us aright, that we may earn the badge of citizenship within your kingdom with those who practice the universal brotherhood of righteousness. O our Lord, grant us your love and the love of all who love you, and the love of your beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the love of what brings us closer to you. So we talk about preparation. So here is a suggested quality list for reflection. And Brother Jimmy is supposed to pass out some cards and the index cards to everyone. I hope that if you haven't been passed a pen or pencil, we're going to pass it out to you, as well as the cards, because the panel discussion is going to be commenced, inshallah, after this. But just to make this, share this suggested quality list for reflection, and as we go into the month of Ramadan, we want to know what righteousness is. We don't want to assume what righteousness is no more. Someone asks you what is righteousness, you're going to say, I think it's, no. You're going to go to Quran. You're going to go to Surah to Baqarah, Surah number 2, ayat 177. And it will give you the full definition of the word righteousness. Mind you, upon reflecting upon this, taking you into Ramadan, your reflection is going to be on where are you as it relates to being righteous. Are you measuring up to what the definition is? That's the challenge to you. All right, who is a believer? Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayat 1 through 11. Surah Al-Mu'minun, the believer, ayat 1 through 11. Again, this is for you to reflect upon and use this as a yardstick of measurement as we get ready to embark upon Ramadan. And ask yourself a question: is there something I need to work on here? Then there is the last of the quality list reflection, and it's only just a suggestion. Servant of Allah. Servant of Allah. Surah Al-Furqan. Ayat 61 through 77. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. That's my sharing with you. Because see, if you're not going to be there, I know I'm going to be there, because I'm still growing in this religion. And I'm grateful and thankful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has brought me into this space to be a presenter to you, talking about the virtues of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Shay, we're about ready to ask our panel to come on up. We have Dr. Alua. Come on aboard, my brother. Dr. Alua has been with us for more than 5 Ramadan sessions. And so this particular year, I called him up and he said, whatever you want, man, I'll be there. Alhamdulillah. And we have Lucha. Okay, Dr. Is she available? Yes, Dr. Kiel. Dr. Kiel, where are you? She's coming out. Yes, we're going to get some yes. Can grab more closer. Each one of these panelists Each one of these panelists will introduce themselves and what their field of concern is. Now, we're not going to answer what their occupation is. We're going to tell you, they're going to share with you what their commitment is to human life. Inshallah. And upon them closing or giving what it is, where the floor is going to be open to ask questions of. They'll give a little bit further about their field of study as their field of practice. But I've asked them to, they said, well, what do you want me to do? I want you to talk to the audience and perk their curiosity. What do they want to know as it relates to what you do, inshallah? So their introduction might be short. Watch out, listen, because you might have a question. And what they may say and what they do. Okay. Dr. Alua, you're on board.
Okay. Well,
I said we're waiting on Dr. Akil. We're waiting.
Oh,
okay. I guess we'll wait.
Questions, if you have questions. These experts being passed out, you have questions of the panelists? If you don't have something to write with, raise your hand.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم.
Be surprised how much good comes from just good. In our holy book, God says, what is the reward of good except good? Yes, praise be to God.
Ecco, bisogna spalancare il cuore, rompere tutti gli argini e mettersi in cuore la fratellanza universale. Io vivo per la fratellanza universale.
Imam Dawidi Muhammad was born in 1933 and was the son of Elijah Muhammad, who was the leader of the Nation of Islam. Imam Dawidi Muhammad worked hard to bring different groups of people together and to promote understanding and equality. He also encouraged people to work for justice and fairness in society. He is an important figure in the history of Islam in the U.S., and his teachings are still relevant today. Imam WD Muhammad has many followers to this day. They come together to practice their faith, serve their community, and promote understanding and equality. It's a group that promotes unity and mutual respect among different groups of people, and in the spirit of Islam, they work for the betterment of society. Chiara Lubich was born in 1920. She believed in the power of love and unity to change the world. She and her friends founded a movement in the Catholic Church called Focolare that encourages people to come together in the spirit of the gospel to work towards building a more loving and inclusive society. She was a spiritual leader who inspired many people to live their lives with compassion and love towards all. Her teachings and philosophy still inspire many people around the world today. The Focolare movement is active in over 190 countries, and it promotes unity among people of all cultures, beliefs, and religions. In 1997, Imam Muhammad invited Chiara Lubich to speak at the famous Malcolm Shabbat's Mosque in Harlem, New York. It was a very important meeting between the two leaders where they discussed their shared belief in the importance of working together to promote peace and understanding between people of different cultures and religions.
In a long time. And speaking to my brothers at the men's panel was a pleasure as well. But even bigger, better pleasure is to see that our mothers, sisters are also here with our brothers and fathers as well. When we talk about health, health is everybody's problem. It's all of our problem. Men's health is women's health, and women's health is men's health. I've come to realize, especially for the men, and I said that earlier on, that the kind of health that we achieve as men basically depend on what our women decide to give to us, right? Because you guys cook the food, and you decide what we eat and how we eat, and how well we eat, or what portion that we eat. So that's why even when we talk about men's health, we need to have women in the room as well, because at the end of it all, as you know, you are what you eat. So if our women decide what we eat, then they decide what we turn out to be health-wise. So my name is Dr. Nelson Aluya. I was originally born in Nigeria. I grew up, did medical school, and then eventually came to the U.S. State residency. I graduated, I became a professor at Rutgers, and for over a decade, and left, and eventually now the chief medical officer for first the Newark Community Health Centers, and then now at St. James in the Ironbound area. So I've been in the Newark area for quite a while. I'm also attending at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center, where I also trained. And I have a private practice in Irvington on Sanford by Clinton. So I do a lot of stuff in the community, like my brother Imam Razak said. I've been here a couple of times as well, because at the end of it all, I decided to work and stay in my community, because if I don't, then who else will? You know, we talk about disparity, health, and all the other things that's happening in our community. For so long, we didn't have people who look like me, especially male, in the health field. Now we do. So our role with my colleagues who are also black men particularly, our job is to stand in the forefront, be the flag bearers for you all and our community, to dispel the fears about seeking help with doctors. Because for so long, there's a historical issue that's been happening in our community, and that's had our community having not to seek help as we ought to. And that has affected us as much as it can be. So for the Guardian, and I call myself a medical advocate, If you look me up, type my name on YouTube or internet, you see some of the things I write often enough. And some of the group that I also part of in helping to inform, educate, and then elevate the mindset of our people, especially when it comes to the health. I'm a member of 12 to 14 group of Black male doctors from neurosurgeons, psychiatry, OBGYN, pediatricians, and all that. We come up every month, second Saturday of the month. It's called Doctor's Lounge. So if you YouTube it, you will see all the videos we've done for the last, 5 years or so. And you listen and share those videos, and you can hear and get educated, so that it will empower you. So when you go to see your doctor, you're informed, and you are better able to ask the right kind of question, because the informed patient is the best kind of patient that we all desire. Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Place on YouTube, you said?
Doctor's Lounge.
Lounge.
Doctor's Lounge.
My name is Dr. Elaine Afia Akil. I am a doctor of chiropractic, and I've been doing that for 32 years here in the city of Newark. It says my topic is general spinal health care, but as I listen and I observe, when we talk about health care, you have to talk about overall health. We have to talk about general whole body health. And when we talk like that, we have to talk about the nervous system. Because the nervous system is the system that controls all the other systems. We don't do anything independent of the nervous system. So as a chiropractor, the way I figure out what's causing the symptoms is by understanding if your spinal column, which houses the spinal cord, and there's no interference in the transmission. When you have interference in transmissions, and mainly because when vertebrae misalign, they interfere with nerve flow. So wherever that nerve is going, whether it's organ, tissue, cell, things are just not going to function like they're supposed to. So my job is to make sure that the nervous system is functioning properly, because that also controls mind, body, spirit. And as Dorland says in the definition of health, health is not merely a lack of symptoms or infirmities, but it's the connections of the mind, body, and spirit. And the nervous system controls all of that. So when you want to talk about men's health, women's health, pediatric health, you got to talk about chiropractic. Because again, my practice is a family practice. So I see pregnant women, they bring the babies when the babies are born. I check their spines. If there's no misalignments, we just check, okay, everything's good. If there are misalignments in the form of subluxation, we start the process of correcting them. So we do the pregnant women, we do the babies, we do senior citizens, we do the student athletes, we do everybody in between. Anybody that's got a spine, if you've got misalignments and I detect them, we're going to correct them so that you can be as Allah intended you to be, healthy, be at optimal health. So again, chiropractic is not just about a back pain or a car accident or a fall down, because we deal with all that. But it's about making sure that the whole body is functioning at its optimum, and the only way it can do that is to make sure that the nervous system is functioning with no interference. Oh, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nucha Eleanor. I am not a doctor. I am a health educator, but I am very honored to be here amongst these two professionals. I am a health educator. I am a military veteran. I am a brain tumor survivor. And I'm here dedicated to advanced trauma-informed care and cancer education and prevention, and culturally rooted health education as well. I serve as a health educator at University Hospital at the Cancer Center, and as a founding partner of a nonprofit that is my baby, that I call Trauma Recovery and Prevention Alliance, and we provide wraparound services for individuals in our community. For more than 2 decades, I have developed survivor-centered programs, prevention initiatives, equity-driven strategies that support marginalized communities, locally and globally. And my work has extended internationally as well as in Egypt, South Sudan, and Kassala, Belize and El Salvador, Haiti, and also, and the latest as Turkey, Istanbul, Turkey, and where I sat as a delegate. I have contributed cultural responsive health education and human rights advocacy. I'm also a certified human rights consultant for the United States Department of Diplomacy and Human Rights, and based out in Washington, D.C. And I sit on the legislative committee as an advocate, I guess you could say, for the legislative committee for the legislative committee of trafficking against human rights, human trafficking. Excuse me, that was a tongue twister. And the operating council as well. Part of the NAACP, I'm part of the education program at that. I sit on a lot of things. I get myself involved in a lot of communities and a lot of boards. I do a lot of advocacy work. I'm always in Trenton. I have a big mouth. I talk a lot, and I advocate for our community. I'm always down there trying to get some congressman, some congresswoman, somebody to sign a bill some way, somehow, to get some type of legislation passed that will benefit our community. And that's me in a nutshell. What I am passionate about in regards to what I do, I spent over 25 years working with individuals who are survivors of different forms of trauma, mainly sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, etc. MST, which is military sexual trauma as well, because it happens rapidly. So I spent 25 years doing that. I took a breather, so to speak, and I wound up working up in the Cancer Center. So here I am at University Hospital. I just started recently working there last month, so I'm very new to the university community, I guess you could say. I'm originally from New York, so I'm still learning about Essex County and what it all entails. There's a lot of history here. I didn't realize how big it was. Oh my goodness. This is a big city. It's a big city. And there's a lot here, and there's a lot of individuals that I have met that are so passionate about living here, about growing up here and giving back to the community, and it's endearing and it's inspiring. So I am inspired by you to continue to doing the work and to continue using my voice and my different levels of advocacy to benefit the community and others. So not just Newark, but other communities like Irvington and Orange and East Orange. I currently reside in East Orange. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so individuals as ourselves, and you do it as yourselves as well, you're here today, you are an advocate. You showed up today. You're here to speak, you're here to voice your opinion, you're here to talk about your own, about the concerns that you have, and we're here to answer your questions as best as we can. By being here today, your presence is extremely important and it's inspiring to me. So thank you.
If anybody has questions, raise your hand, I'll come and let you call. Anyone else? All right, here's the question I do have. Since there are so many deodorants that have aluminum in them, what deodorants do you suggest might be safe for women and men to use?
Deodorant. That's aluminum free?
Yes.
Well, there's one that I personally use. People in the industry know me as Native. This is a name that was given to me by a former professor because I'm a Native. You remember Carly Simon? Maybe that song by Carly Simon, Native New York? I'm aging myself right now. But anyway, I was given that name because I created I was in the fashion industry a long time ago, long time ago. And so I had to create a fashion line, and I called it the Native New Yorker. And so I won the contest. It was a contest. I won the contest, and the professor loved it, and he wanted to call me Native. So there's an actual deodorant called Native, and you've heard of it, right? So it's aluminum free. It doesn't have a lot of the parabens that's in there, a lot of the lanolin, all of these different types of, I guess you could say, aluminums or metals that's in there that affects women or even men. Women are because of our breast tissue, so and our nervous system. Right. So yeah, that's one of the ones that I actually recommend.
I want to throw a picture in there. I make my own deodorant too, so I'll be coming to the scene.
Entrepreneurship.
Aluminum free.
There's a question.
I'm going to did you take ornament and baby soap and cosmetic brush? That's the one natural bristles. Just dip it in there, put it in a cute little dish where you want to tap it and brush it under your arms.
I've actually heard, I had a friend of mine, she was completely holistic because she had a lot of issues, health issues. She just started using lemon. So I was just like, I don't know how long that's going to be beneficial, or good for your skin after a while because it has a lot of acid in it. So I would say, just at your own discretion, sparingly. Anything you use after a long period of time, it just stops working. So just change it up. That would be my best opinion. But you can ask the doctors. So like I said, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I think at the end of it all, you know who you are and know what your history is. What's your medical history? You have diabetes, you have high blood pressure, are you taking medications? Do you have autoimmune disease? Do you have a skin problem? So before you decide to do any of those or choose something, sit with your doctor and have that conversation. Because what they do, they look at your labs, they request for labs and sit with you and review and discuss your labs. And if there's anything talking about labs and tests, and this is what I do for my patients. If you do a test at any point in time, set up an appointment 2 weeks after your appointment to follow up with your doctor and sit with your doctor, because that's one of the big things we don't do in our community. You expect the doctor to, remember and call you. Yes, they may say, come back in 2 weeks. And in his mind, I'm asking you to come back in a month or 2 months. As life gets in the way, you forget, you don't show up. And maybe he's reviewing the test. Maybe the day he's reviewing, somebody called him from the hospital, he got distracted. By the time he comes, he moves to the next patient. He missed your test results. And there's something bad with the test. So, and I always tell people this, you spend 15 minutes with me on an average visit, a sick or follow-up visit, or 30 minutes for an annual well visit, which everybody should have every year. Everybody should have an annual well visit every year. Standard, irrespective whether you see the doctor 2, 4, 5 times. Get the 30 minutes when you sit down, have that discussion with them. Now, that's the most. But you're with yourself 24/7. So who knows you better than you? But you, not the doctor. So a lot of times you do a test, set an appointment 2 weeks after, go sit with the doctor. Doc, I did my test. Let's see the results. And then you spend that time reviewing your results with you. And that's what one advice on that segue. But with regards to the other words and whatever, look, you know yourself, you know who you are, you know what kind of skin you have. If you start using something and it's not working, go to your doctor and they'll see what reactions they may be. Because sometimes we have a lot of people come in, they have fungal infection, and they don't know that the deodorant or the cream or whatever they're using has changed the milieu, the nature of the skin, and now infection is now setting in. So that's why it's important to sit with your doctor and have that discussion.
I have 2 more questions. First one, Dr. Lewis, for you. Someone wants to know what's your perspective on fasting?
Fasting is great. It's amazing Because, just like my sister described the WHO definition of fasting, of health, which way back in the 1940s actually came up, but then they added wellness and the mental aspect of it to it. Because at the end, if your mind is not right, most of the time your body is not right as well. So, but how well do you communicate with God? In every religion, in every good book, there's a place and a time for fasting. Now, where you separate yourself from everything else and concentrate and consecrate your body to Christ, to Allah, or to whoever you believe in. So at that point in time, it's important. So, but again, and that's why, when you go to sleep, when you wake up, you hear the doctor says what? When you do your test, do it fasting, right? Right. It means you without food for at least a certain amount of time. That's what we call fasting. In the healthcare industry, we say fasting for at least 2 hours before you do the blood, because then because we see exactly what your natural state would look like before it starts producing other things. Because when you fast for too long, you produce other chemicals as well. One of them is ketones. You understand? Because the brain, and I always tell people this, the brain don't care, who gets blood, who gets sugar, who gets anything else, as long as it gets its own. And that's why the way God created it, however it is, the sugar will always get into the brain, right? And that's the way God created what they call the brain, blood-brain barrier. So sugar will always go through and everything else. But for the rest of our body, we need insulin. But you don't need insulin for sugar to go into the brain. So that's why when you fast, you also produce other chemicals. And sometimes some of those things enter the brain as well. So, but when you do that, before you do that, you have to prepare yourself as well. I mean, there's nowhere in any of the great books that once you want to get ready for fasting, there's a process and how would I say? There's a schedule and a process of how to go about it. You understand? And there are instructions that follow it as well. You just don't get up and say, "Oh, you want to fast?" No. First, you have to commune with God. You have to get that information because God speaks to you. It really does, and that's the reason why we have the body, soul, and the spirit. The spirit is what God has given to you, which is your soul that contains all you are. And when God takes the spirit away, it's done. And then the soul is yours. But you have to sit still and listen to what God speaks to you, anything about it. Now, once you do that, and you have chronic medical issues, again, you have to speak to your doctor and discuss what your chronic medical issues and how your fasting would affect it. I've written over the years, I'm about to write one again because the Ramadan is coming, approach towards fasting, Ramadan period in the time of fasting, health in the time of fasting. Because you all take medications, right? Blood pressure pills, diabetes medicines, and all the other medicines that you take. But what's the schedule? How's it going to look like? Because I begin to have those discussions already with some of my patients when they come see me, because your eating habits changes. So you have to fine tune that to when the eating and everything else will look like. So that when you fast, you just don't walk down the street and you fall down because your sugar is too low or your blood pressure is too low. You understand? It becomes detrimental. Allah does not want you to, fast to a point where, something bad will happen to you. That's not his intention. And that's why, again, if you cannot fast now, you make up for it subsequently. So personally, fasting is great. I do it almost every day. And then at times where I concentrate, time for that as well. But before you do the fasting, have a sit-down talk, an appointment with your doctor and have that discussion. Doc, I'm on this meds. You put me on this meds. What should I take? Because sometimes you're on insulin as well, right? And insulin lasts the whole day. And some that short dose insulin, long dose insulin. So you have to come up with, you may have to come up with a new regimen for you. And that's why, looking at all our in the room right now, our clothes are not the same. Mine will not fit you, and yours will not fit me. So also is your healthcare. You have to tailor your health to you as an individual. It's not a one size fits all.
Next question, that's also, next two questions have to do with that. Why is humanity suffering from so many different illnesses today compared to 75 years ago? Is it because of all the added chemicals in the food?
Well, I can joke and say something because I've seen too much. Sin has entered the earth too much way back then as well. But look, in all sincerity, a lot of things have changed. The world is changing. There's a political, there's a social, there's a human, and the religious aspect of it. And that's who we are completely. You cannot separate one from the other. And then, of course, you have the scientific aspect of it. And as I was saying earlier on, as we replace a lot of things for our convenience, right? We also have to give up other things as well. And that's just nature, period. Back in the days, you want to go see grandma, you walk to grandma, right? You have to go see her, sit with her. Now what do? Pick up the phone, you FaceTime grandma, right? You don't have to go see her anymore. But what that means, what you're giving up is the ability to get up and walk down there. You burn calories. You expose yourself to the sun. You get some vitamin D. And all of this, cumulatively, all these things have an effect in your health. Now, when you're not doing that, cumulatively again, it has an effect on your health. You understand? So, and that's why for us, especially if anybody who is of African American descent or of African descent, I tell you this. If you look around, the fastest people on earth, male or female, are black. Right? The fastest people on earth. Why? You think it's just because we exercise more, we train more? No, it's our genetics. Because we now know, and that's the beauty of science, we now know we have a different muscle fiber. Some people call it, short string or short tension fiber or brown muscles. But our kind of muscles eat when we move them, period. So when you move, it eats up the sugar that you eat. So when in our community we no longer move, what happens? Wow. We gain weight. And when you gain weight, what comes with it? Illness, diabetes, high blood pressure, and all that. Straight up, simple. Our forefathers in Africa, what did they do on a daily basis? They moved. And one of the things that we also now know is that the sun. God created the sun for a reason. We get vitamin D from the sun. If you live here, look around now, how much sun we get in these days anyways. You understand? So that living here alone removes a whole lot of gains that you can get from the sun. Because the sun helps you produce your vitamin D. What it also does is help regulate your innate immune system. It helps build your immune system, the innate immune system for you. It also reduces the risk of you becoming diabetic. We now know all of that, and that's why vitamin D is really huge, especially for us. So every time I do my annual well check for my patients, and I'll ask you to do the same. Ask your doctor, Doc, what's my vitamin D level? You'll be shocked, it is low. And I've seen it over the time, if you look up vitamin D and diabetes, you see the relationship. I do it every time. And I show my patients as well. Your vitamin D is low, your risk for high diabetes goes up. The risk of diabetes goes down, your vitamin D is high. So if I give them the vitamin D, you see the risk, the A1C comes out. Every time, it never fails. So that's one of the advantages again, that, when, as we live on, we have a whole lot more diseases. Because guess what? Diabetes is new to the Black DNA. I'm being frank. I can count numbers and statistics. Today, in 2016, the WHO and CDC decide to call diabetes an epidemic. In 2016, for the first time, WHO and CDC. Now, here at that point in time, there were about 29.3 million people who had diabetes. 88.8 million people were pre-diabetic. Have anybody heard of what pre-diabetes? Yes. Meaning you're not diabetic. Everybody need to know what the diabetes status is. If there's one thing you need to, when you leave here, you need to know your diabetes status. Because diabetes is killing us. It is. Especially people of color, I'm sorry. Now, today, that number from 29 has gone about to 34 million people. Now, in the books, they wrote diabetes, Africa was a continent without diabetes. Now today, then they said there were about 800 and something thousand. Today, about 19 million people. In 2016, there were just about 15. Today, 19, with untold number of people who have pre-diabetes. Why? Again, the lifestyle, the food that we eat, the sedentary lifestyle. A lot of our folks are not coming out to the sun anymore to get the vitamin D that God has given. You understand? So these are some of the things that we see that is making a whole lot more diseases become more rampant. You understand? And not just that, technology. We're being exposed to a lot of environmental toxins. The things that we use to have, and when I say we trade convenience for other things, there's a whole lot of chemicals in these machines that are out there that used to be on the earth, not around us, right? Seriously. You know, but now we begin to see all the things. They say, oh, it's not a toxic or whatever, but if you live in a place where 2, 3, 5, 10, 20, if you look at the room now, almost everybody has a cell phone. The cumulative effect of all of this is what's happening. By the end of it all, what do? You have to go back, see who you are, know who you are, eat right, sleep well, commune with God well, but importantly as well, you have to move.
I wanted to address that as well. The fasting part, I want to go back to. Yes, the fasting is something that you definitely should prepare yourself for as we get closer and closer to Ramadan. One of the things that I also would like to bring to our attention is how we eat at iftar. Because some of us, you just about negate your fast after you overindulge in the food at iftars. And so again, and some people don't understand why they gain weight at the end of Ramadan instead of perhaps losing some weight, because you're just eating too much. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look at the plates; they're piled up. You should just be eating enough to it's like I forgot that there's a term that the Japanese have for it, but it should be like 80%. You should only have 80% of what your stomach can hold, and that's it. And the thing is, I think we eat that I guess people just famished at the end of the fast. But the thing is, you have to think about what it's doing to your body in terms of you went all day with nothing. Now you just gorging yourself with all this food. So your brain is like, what is going on? Not just your brain, but your gut. It's that whole gut-brain relationship. The brain is confused. What are we doing here? So the thing is, we need to be more conscious, we need to be more mindful of what we're putting on our plate at iftar. And then some people just waste the stuff. Again, the whole thing is part of the fast is to eat like a pauper. Right. But I don't think some people know how to do that. But anyway, so I just would like to suggest that moving forward, that we all be more mindful of what we're putting on our plate, how much we're putting on our plate, and drinking too, sodas. And, I mean, that's another story. But, you should be drinking more water. But if you want to drink soda, that's fine. But the thing is, your body is like, it's just confused. I'm telling you, it's confused. The brain is confused about what's going on. With all day long, you were at peace, the body was at peace. Now you just start gorging, and it's just not good. It's not healthy. And so I would again ask you to be more mindful about that. And as far as the different ingredients in the food, their food is not the same today. Just in terms of the way it's planted, the way it's farmed, the way it's distributed, about the way it's produced and distributed. It's just not the same. Too many shortcuts, too much mechanical things going on with it. So, and the thing is too, like Dr. Lou said, you gotta move. Movement is medicine. I was telling it to the group that I spoke to earlier today. You know, even when you don't feel good, you have joint pain, muscle pain, you gotta move, because when you move in those joints, you're lubricating them so they would be more readily to move, even though you're in pain. And sometimes once you start moving them, the pain starts to reduce a little bit. So fasting, fantastic. You gotta prepare yourself for it. I'm looking forward, as I know all of you are. But you definitely have to remember during the iftars, just not to overindulge. Because again, you're confusing your body, and your brain is like, what's going on here? You know. So, but anyway, just to be mindful, because again, it's going to serve you better in terms of getting the benefits, the spiritual benefits, as well as the physical benefits of Ramadan.
Okay, next question. For the month of Ramadan, should a Muslim with type 2 diabetes fast? Type 2 diabetes should be fast.
If a Muslim with type 2 diabetes should fast a Ramadan, I see no reason why they shouldn't. But again, it depends on what you have, what your A1C is, and what's your plan that you have with your doctor, basically. Because type 2 diabetes, again, let's get the full disclosure on diabetes. Because I speak on diabetes around the world, because I see what it's doing to us. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. And it's having a lot of our young people end up die even before their parents. And I've seen it multiple times. And God forbid that is, a question for any one of us. There's type 1, there's type 2, and there's what they call the type 3 diabetes now. And I explain so that we know exactly what we have, or the type 1.5. Now, the type 1 is where the pancreas that produces the insulin that helps you, take up the sugar that you eat. Sugar is necessary. It's the burning fuel that our body needs to move, to do anything. It helps to build those power components that your body needs to build to function. Now, the way God did it, you need the insulin to help move the sugar into your body. Now, like I said the other time, the only place in the body that you don't need insulin is the brain. That's the way God did it as well. So when the pancreas, for some reason, has failed, either from genetics, because some people have, it runs in the family, or maybe they got exposed to a virus or disease or something, it shuts down. Then obviously you can't produce the insulin. So the sugar is just around all the way. When you eat, it's just in your blood, it's just swimming. You understand? As it's swimming around, it's affecting everything, affecting your immune system. Like I always say, it's like you get your immune system, your soldiers, your army, and then you get them all drunk. Of course, when it's time to fight, they can't do nothing. They're all distracted. So that's just the way it is. So for those individuals, the only way to treat them is to give them insulin. And thank God, insulin, a lot of people died before insulin was discovered. I think in the late 1800s. So now we have insulin. That's for the type 1. Now, there's gestational diabetes for our mothers and women here. When you get pregnant, there's a whole lot of hormones that come out, and that's why a lot of women, gain weight, a certain percentage of weight that's acceptable, because you're carrying another human being. You understand? And that human being needs to feed and grow and develop. So in the process, the hormones may go a little bit overboard or whatever, and then you have diabetes, and then the baby is profoundly big and have their own problems as well. So individuals like that, for mothers, you use an insulin as well. And some tabs have been recommended to treat. Now, when you give birth to the baby, because the immune system and the hormonal system is adjusting back to where it is, you often go back. However, there's a 30 to 33% chance of you developing diabetes in the future as a woman who had diabetes when you were pregnant. So you have to know that. And that's why you cannot gain weight unnecessarily. When you come back, give birth to the baby, you have to exercise, burn back those weights, so that when you get ready for another one, you still have, you have a reserve to come. Now, the type 2 is the one that's very common. right? Now, the type 1 can happen anytime. I've seen babies who come up with type 1. I've seen adults who come up with type 1, depending. But the type 2 is the one that usually happens as we grow older. Now, back in the days, it used to be in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, but now we see younger and younger. Why? Sedentary lifestyle, weight gain, obesity, predisposing factors that increase your risk of becoming diabetic. Again, vitamin D low, all of those things. So when those things happen, diabetes unfortunately affects every tissue in your body because it's really sugar related. Every tissue in your body needs sugar, correct? The brain, so they have complications of the brain, strokes, all the other things. The eye, people, go blind, they develop cataract. The heart attacks or infections. The immune system, it shuts down the immune system. For those of the reproductive aspect, it affects the reproductive aspect as well. And that's why men show up very early when these are not working the way they used to work anymore. And then the nervous system as well. It shuts down the autonomic and non-autonomic nervous system. So that there are people when they eat, they start sweating. I'm not saying that's what you have, but there's what they call the gustatory swelling. It's a form of diabetes complication. There are those who have problem with the gut. You understand, when the diabetes is uncontrolled. And then you have, the skin and the legs. You see a lot of people who have wounds and sores that don't heal. Why? Because it shuts down the nervous system to a point where you can walk and hit your leg against something and you don't even know it. And then, you start bleeding, you won't even know until you look down like, oh my God, and then it gets infected. Because the sugars are so high, your immune system can't fight the sugar, can't fight the infection. Then you have diabetic ulcers. And then you have a lot of people who get amputated. In this country, 4 people get amputated every day from diabetes. Strokes happen. So diabetes contributes to a whole lot of things. And that's the type 2. In the type 2, what happens is you have the insulin producing, but before it gets into the tissue, the space in between is what they call insulin resistance. Either because the fat is there and a whole lot of things that's resistant, it can't get into the tissue. So you can't utilize it. You understand? And that's why every time when somebody's diabetic, they say, hey, lose weight, you have to move, all of that. And like I said, for us, our sugars are eating more when we move them because of the kind of muscles we do have. So all these complications, and the one that's particular again, and we're learning a whole lot more things. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, but not to scare you, but we need to be informed. Kidney failures in our community. Diabetes is the #1 cause of kidney failure in the world. #1 in the world. Also #1 in this country. Now, what used to bother me, especially when I was at university, I actually ran a clinic at the cancer center. As a matter of fact, for a couple of years, I had a grant. But I was doing something on sickle cell because I'm still a pediatrician. So, but what happened was, I used to be really bothered. Why is it that a lot of us are on dialysis compared to anybody else? Right? We constitute about 14 to 15% of the population of the United States. But the 34% of us are on dialysis. Why? I used to wonder a lot. I'm like, okay, we have a higher risk of diabetes, but not as much as the Native Americans. They have higher risk. After them were the next ones. Well, we talk about healthcare disparities. All right, fine. We do have disparities even among the Hispanics, but they're not on dialysis as much as we are. So it was something that really bothered me a lot. And I kept on researching and thinking and looking, and I realized that, listen, just like we have sickle cell, that we brought from Africa, 50% of us carry the gene, because to protect us from malaria, we also carry another gene that puts us at more risk for kidney failure. It's something we'll begin to find out now as well. You understand? It's called the APOL1 gene. How many people don't know that yet? There's a G1, G2 mutation. These are something that we're beginning to really know because it bothered me a lot. Now, in sickle cell, you find out that we screen every baby that is born, right? Especially if you're African American, they screen babies born for sickle cell. One of the things I would hope is a gift that I'll give to the world is to have our baby being screened also for the kidney problem. We should, because we're not screening yet. And that's where advocacy will come up. Because we're screening for that, we need to. Too many of us are end up on dialysis. Too many. Young, as I speak to you, I have a lot of them in the hospital. You understand? So the number one cause of kidney failure in the world is diabetes. Number two is what? Hypertension. So guess what? Diabetes and hypertension go together, right? So if you have diabetes and have hypertension, you increase the risk of you ending up on dialysis. You get? So, and then if you not carry the gene, that's even worse. And those genes are carried particularly for those of West African descent. You and I. You know, how many of us carry that gene? We don't. So one of the things I'm doing in the clinic now is I see people who have no reason for their kidney to be failing. I screen for them. They had no idea. They carry the gene. You know, so if you go for your annual world check, always please, outside of knowing what your blood pressure is, or your heart rate, or everything else, also know what your vitamin D is. Like I told you, know what your diabetic status is. Are you no diabetes, pre-diabetes, or diabetic? You have to ask your doctor, please, do I have protein in my urine? Do you have a protein in your urine? You have to check your kidneys. Am I spilling protein in the urine? How do I describe protein in the urine? It's like when you drive a car, you park your car outside, right? And you go back and you see drops of oil on the ground. What does that tell you? Something is wrong. That's the way it is with our body. The first way that the body is telling us there's something wrong with our kidney is when we begin to see protein in our urine. So it's important, you need to know that. So in all of this, why am I saying this? If you have to fast and you have type 2 diabetes, I don't know what complications of diabetes you have. So that's why it's important you have to sit with your doctor and say, Doc, I want to do a fast. I have type 2. Is it okay for me to have the fasting? And then they'll be able to tell you, oh, well, because of this, because of that, you can't fast. Because of that, you should fast. You understand? It's a discussion you have to sit and have that full discussion with your doctor.
All right. We're gonna have to wrap this up because time is upon us. I think you can contact, yes, Lucy.
I just need you to repeat that gene again, the gene where we're predisposed to.
Oh, G1, G2 mutation.
G1, G2.
But type in APOL-1. APOL-1 mutation. Yeah, it's important. We need to read these things, you know. But again, before I go, in all sincerity, we live in an age where there's information. Information is power. And we'll be doing a disservice to any one of you if we don't tell you that we live in an age where you have technology to help you answer a lot of questions. The technology in the future will help us. In psychiatry, in chiropractic, in medicine, it's really important. So please, you have your internet, research stuff before you go to see a doctor. When you go see a doctor, you gotta prepare. I always tell people, when you go see a doctor, they're going to see your imam. You have to write stuff down. What are the problems that you have? Because a lot of doctors don't have time. You understand? And if you get there, they start asking questions. No, write 1, 2, 3, 4 down, the things that are most important to you, and you discuss those issues with them. You understand? And then you have a much more productive and effective clinic.
Okay. Now, I want to thank our panelists. We were very insightful. We have one more presenter. I know someone has a question for you. I shall ask you personally.
Okay, no problem.
We have.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Don't let age be a factor. Ageism is real. Just don't let age be a factor no matter what ailment you have. Advocate for yourself and keep advocating. If you don't find a provider that's going to assist you or help you in whatever ailment you may have, find another one. And keep finding one until they agree. Until you get the answer that you need and want.
Okay, we got. Last year, a lot of you inmates worked very, very hard to get a new city councilwoman elected in the Central Ward of Newark. We have with us today Councilwoman Amina Vet of the Central Board.
I'm not presenting. Just giving remarks. Just wanted to say, first of all, thank you all for doing this. I mean, this is a wonderful event every year to prepare us for the holy month of Ramadan. And, you know, we have a lot of talk about, you know, our diet and the changes and what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat. But for me, it's the most important adjustment is in my mental health. We talk about our mental health and wellness because, you know, so many of us, we're doing 10,000 things, you know, every single day. But during the holy month of Ramadan, we are allowed to slow it down and be more intentional about how we spend our time and how we spend our energy. And that's really important. And our mental health and wellness really drives everything else. You know, when we talk about our physical health and wellness, how we eat, a lot of us stress eat. You know, Dr. Akil talked about how sometimes we gorge ourselves during iftar because our mind has told us that we've been starving so much, and so we want to just ingest so much, and then we end up going to sleep on it, you know, not too much, you know, later, and wonder why we're gaining weight instead of losing weight, or, you know, feeling more sluggish instead of feeling more energized. So for me, it's about the mental health and wellness, because also we're kinder to each other during the holy month of Ramadan. We're more peaceful. We're more at ease because we're more intentional about our readings. We're more intentional about our prayers. And it just brings together the community in the way that we really should be all year long. That's right. So I am so thankful, especially now. I am so thankful and looking forward to this upcoming Ramadan, because it just, you know, it pumps the brakes on the craziness, and it helps block out the chaos and the noise. You know, it just brings a sense of peace and a reset for my spirit and for us as a community. So I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together every year. I want to thank everyone that brings this event together and wish us a happy, safe, prosperous, and peaceful Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Long story short, I hope we brought you a good program. With that, I just wanted to just close with the dua. And it's the dua coming from Surah number 18, Ayat 10. It's called The Youth Who Sought Refuge in the Cave. The prayer begins before they tell you the story. The youth who sought refuge in the cave will close our program. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. Our Lord, bestow mercy upon us from your presence and dispose of all of our affairs in the best manner. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Now, in concluding this, when the slave traders and the black traders of Africa, traitors, different, traitors, when the slave traders and the traitors of Africa called themselves Muslims, were fighting each other and carrying on and weakening their people over there, so that the white traders come in there and get us, take us on slave ships and bring us here. Now, all right? Yeah. So now, when all that happened, what you think was happening to our human soul? Let me tell you, God has given me an eye to see into the very abstract form of the human being by my study of the Quran. Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you what was happening. I know, as if I was there. The soul of those victims had given up on this world. They knew they were going to their death. They knew they were going to circumstances that were going to finish them off. They would never have their lives again. They knew that. But in their soul, they were saying, our children will one day be free again, and they will serve God. We have failed, but our children will one day serve God. And now their prayer that they prayed in the deep recesses of their soul has come true. And not only of the descendants of the black people of Africa, from Islam, coming to Islam, taking up the divine cause, but those who never were Muslims, their children from Christianity, their children from Judaism, their children from paganism, are embracing Islam in America. And we are going to build new Africa. New Africa, right here in the United States. Allahu Akbar. And the soul of those suffering victims, they're rejoicing because of us here today.